Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. We have a dangerous dog hearing. Gage the dog bit Mr. Huff, who drives a tow truck. Is Gage really a dangerous dog? The judge gets to decide. And warning, if he is found guilty of being a dangerous dog, he does not have to cross the Rainbow Bridge. He has to join the Licking County Dangerous Dog Registry, where you find Phoebe. I think she probably killed some chickens. And guess who's not dead? Tupac. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
Next matter is 24 CDH 3302, Licking County Dog Warden versus Melinda Lewis. Ms. Lewis is present with counsel, Mr. Kalseric, and counsel on behalf of the county prosecutor.
Bryce Ramsey.
Mr. Ramsey?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And we prepared for a trial today?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Ramsey, would you like to make an opening statement?
I'll waive an opening statement, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Kalseric?
Waive opening, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Ramsey, you may call your first witness.
Yes, plaintiff calls John Huff.
Are you John Huff? Come on up here, follow me, please. Go up those steps there to your left, remain standing and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give in this case now being heard to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Have a seat. State your full name, spell your last name,
John Huff, Huff.
and state your full home address, please. Thank you.
You may proceed. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I move for separation
Okay.
of witnesses?
All right. How many witnesses do you have today, Mr. Ramsey?
Just Mr. Huff and Deputy Dog Warden here.
Okay. The lady back there is not testifying?
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
All
you
right.
said yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you.
That's what I said.
Misunderstood
Okay.
you.
All right. Well, for what it's worth, I'll order separation of witnesses. Okay. You may proceed.
Mr. Huff, where do you work at?
East Steps Towing, DBA Grubbs Towing.
So you're a tow truck driver?
Tow truck operator, yes, sir.
As part of your duties, you deliver cars to houses and businesses.
Yes, all day.
On November 18th, 2024, do you have any recollection of what you were doing that day?
I was working, towing cars, doing my job.
Was anyone in the truck with you when you were working that day?
No,
Did you have a vehicle to drop off?
yes, sir, I did.
When you were delivering that vehicle to, can you describe what happened when you got there?
I turned my B guns on, I got my back into the driveway, engaged my PTO like I always do, got out the truck, seen one dog laying on, as I was walking out, I seen a dog on a concrete pad. Didn't pay any attention, he was just laying there, so I go back to my bed, I start letting out the controls and loosening up the winch to let my chain out. And as soon as I let my chain out, I felt something bite me on the back of my thigh. Next thing you know, I turn around, he's got a hold of my right leg, shaking me, and basically pulls me to the ground, and I hit him with a J-hook to get him off of me.
So before you got to the property, you had been in contact with the owner of the property to drop off the vehicle?
No. Only number I ever had was the owner for the number for the owner of the vehicle. We never have the number to the shop where it's going.
So did you receive any sort of warning about the dogs before you got to the property?
Nope. Never seen no signs, never got no warning, nobody told me anything about the dogs.
But you did have permission to go onto the property to drop off the vehicle?
That's where the owner of the truck told me to drop the vehicle.
And You said the dog bit you, at first you didn't see it.
And I felt something bite me and got me on the back of my left thigh. Next thing I know, he's got a hold of my right calf.
And so, while the dog was biting you, did you get a chance to see, you said there were two dogs, did you see which one specifically bit you?
It was a white dog.
And after it bit you,
I finally was able to get up off the ground and get into my truck. I left my truck door open, which I never do. I got in my truck and I immediately called the owner of the vehicle, excuse my language, and I told him he needs to get his fucking ass here. His mechanic's dog just bit me. And that's after I hung up with him. That's when I called 911.
and after that you stayed in your vehicle?
I stayed in my vehicle until the dog warden showed up.
So after the dog, I'm sorry, before the dog lunged at you, did you yell at the dog in any way?
No, I never seen that dog until it actually bit me.
You didn't provoke it
No,
or attack it?
no.
If I showed you a picture of the dog, would you recognize it?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Amen.
Copy for you.
Mr. Huff, can you look at the photograph marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1? Do you recognize that dog?
Yes.
Is that the dog that attacked you?
Yes.
So right after the bite happened, you did use your chain to get the dog away from you.
Yes.
Is that correct? But not until after.
Till after I was on the ground trying to get away from it.
Then after the bite, you were in your vehicle. You stayed in your vehicle, and then when the deputy dog warden came, do you speak with her about the bite?
I didn't speak with her until actually they were able to get the dog where I was able to unload the vehicle, and then I spoke to her on the road. We got my tow truck out of the driveway.
So after you got in the vehicle from the bite, you never stepped outside your vehicle on the driveway again. You backed up to the road and...
I never stepped foot on the driveway until I actually let the car off of my bed to get onto the road. I pulled forward out onto the road. I was back in the driveway. I always back in the driveway.
And so after this incident where you spoke with the deputy and after the bite occurred and you dropped off the vehicle, where did you go next?
I drove my tow truck back to my house and went to the hospital because I couldn't leave it anywhere because there was nobody else to come drive my truck.
Can you now look at Plaintiff's Exhibits 2 and 3 in that packet I handed you? Can you explain what these photographs are in Exhibit 2 first?
2 is the back of my thigh on my left leg where he first bit me.
And 2B?
That's my right calf.
Where he bit you the second time?
Yes.
And then 2C?
It's my right calf after I went to the hospital.
No, I'm sorry. 2C, it looks like a picture of your hands.
Yeah, that's my hand when I fell on my left hand on the ground when he took me to the ground.
So it's swollen up from the
Yes.
fall.
Yes.
And then 3A, you said was your thigh again?
Well, 3A is the back of my right calf.
Right calf. And then 3B,
That's my left thigh.
and 3C.
It's my right leg, my right calf.
Do all of these photos, exhibits 2A through 2C and 3A through 3C, do they accurately reflect your injuries after the bite occurred?
Yes.
And the bite occurred in Licking County?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Counselor.
Just a couple questions, Your Honor. Where's your company at? Where's home?
What do you mean, where's
Where do
home?
you come from? Where'd you drive to? You said you went home. Where's that?
I went back to my apartment, which is Baltimore, where I keep my truck, because I take my truck home every night.
Okay, and where's the company that you tow for out of?
Lancaster, Ohio.
Okay. And how did you end up getting this job that you just spoke about?
We are contracted through insurance companies, and the customer's insurance company contracted us for the call.
Okay. Did you speak to anybody?
When I picked the vehicle up, that was it. That's the only person I spoke to,
Okay.
was the owner of the vehicle. That was being towed to that address.
Okay, and are you saying the owner of the vehicle did not warn you about the dogs?
Never said nothing until I called him.
When did you call him?
After I got bit.
You stated you ended up having to, where did this chain come from?
It's what I tie down a car with.
So, did you have it in your hand, were you working with it, with
When
the
you
back
tie-
turned, when the
you tie a
dog?
car down, you hook a chain to either.
Let me ask the question. Okay.
Sir. Sir. I just need you to answer his questions, okay? There's no reason to be antagonistic to anybody in the courtroom today. Okay?
So, when you were bit, where was the chain?
Chain was in my hand. I was getting ready to put it away.
Okay, and you just were taking it off the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. So was the vehicle totally unchained at that point, unhooked, I guess I should say?
No, it was not totally unhooked.
You still had to get inside and lower it?
There was a winch cable still attached to it.
Okay. And you stayed in your truck until the dog warden got there?
Yes.
And when you contacted the owner of the vehicle, what type of conversation did you have?
When I contacted him about what happened,
Yeah.
I told him, excuse my language, he needed to get his fucking ass out there because his mechanic's dog just bit me.
No further questions at this time?
Mr. Ramsey.
Just a few questions, Your Honor. So the chain was in your hand when the bite happened?
When I felt the first one, yes, I was unloading the vehicle. I have to grab the chain to actually unhook it from my bed. The chain is actually chained when you chain it on a vehicle, you hook it to either an axle if it's a truck or a body point on the car, and you run the slack down into a cutout on the bed, and then you tighten it down with a winch chain, with the winch line. Then you let the winch off, and you have to actually grab the chain and unhook it from the car.
So you said that the dog bit you on the back at first, so at first you couldn't see it. So your back was turned completely
My
to the
back was, I'm
dog.
basically looking at the vehicle like this as I'm unhooking it, like I always do. I'm standing directly looking at a vehicle. Anytime I unhook a vehicle, I'm always looking at the vehicle.
No further questions.
Anything else, Mr. Calcer?
No, thank you,
Okay. You may step down. May call your next witness.
Plaintiff calls Lauren Gavi.
You swear affirm the testimony about to give in the case not being heard should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, please be seated. State your name, spell your last name,
Lauren Gavi, Gavi,
and state your business address.
544 Dog Lake Road, Heath, Ohio, 43056.
Okay, please keep your voice up for us.
Yes.
You may proceed.
Ms. Gavi, how long have you been a deputy dog warden?
For about a year and a half now.
Can you describe what some of your duties are in your job?
To enforce, educate, protect the citizens of Licking County using the ORC Section 955.
On November 18th, 2024, were you working that day?
I was, yes.
And on that day, were you made aware of a call?
I was, yes.
When you got that call, how did you initially respond to that notification?
The call came in as dogs loose on the property. Tow truck driver was bit, unloading a vehicle. It was my understanding the dogs were still loose in the area. I asked a fellow deputy to also respond with me. I didn't know what I was walking into when I got out there. As soon as I got out to the property, I saw the tow truck driver in his vehicle in the driveway still. Both dogs, there were 2 dogs on the property. The lighter color one, the lab, was, he came right up to my vehicle, barking at my door. I stayed in my vehicle and we assessed to meet out on the road so that I could look at the tow trucker driver's injuries and assess from there.
So that day you were on duty and in uniform?
Yes.
And when you parked in the driveway, you said that the lab mix dog started barking while you were in your car. Can you go into more detail about that, into exactly what happened, please?
So when I pulled into the driveway, again, tow truck driver was still in his vehicle. The vehicle owner was there at the time, and he was standing to the side of the driveway outside of a vehicle. I asked him to get in a vehicle just because I didn't know how familiar the dogs were with him. I didn't want it to lead to a second incident. He did not. He stayed outside of a vehicle. Meanwhile, the lab, Gage, continued to run around and came to my driver's side, barking. I was able to grab a picture of him from there. He went to my passenger side. I could hear him on the other side, was looking at my mirrors. He continued to run around my vehicle until we chose to go out back up onto the road.
So with your training as a deputy dog warden, is it standard for when you enter a property and a dog is barking or, showing any sign of aggression in any way, is that standard protocol for you to remain in your car?
If I can avoid getting out and causing injury to myself or for me to use force on a dog, I'm going to continue to keep that barrier so dog remains safe and I remain safe.
And so after you assess the situation and exited the driveway out to the main road, you spoke with Mr. Huff about the incident?
Yes, yeah, we backed out. The owner of the vehicle had called the owner. They were, I think it was like 25 or 30 minutes away from home, but they were headed home, obviously. And they had stated that there was an invisible fence that didn't go past the two main trees on either side of their driveway, which is why we backed out onto the road. Once on the road, I spoke with Mr. Huff, looked at his injuries, while the other officer, Deputy Sabrina McKelvey, watched both dogs, because again, they're still technically, they could run through it, so we wanted to make sure that we had eyes on the dogs at all times, while I assessed Mr. Huff's injuries.
Can you look at exhibit 2A, 2B, and 2C? Were these pictures taken by you at the scene?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, are these pictures a true and accurate copy of the pictures that you took that day?
Yes.
And do these pictures adequately reflect the injuries of Mr. Huff after the incident?
Yes, directly after the incident, yes.
In exhibits 3A through 3D, 3A through 3E, these pictures were sent to you by Mr. Huff.
Yes, they were.
Can you explain why these pictures were sent to you rather than you just taking more pictures yourself?
I had captured the injuries on scene, and Mr. Huff was bleeding from his right calf pretty good, and so captured those pictures in the moment. I wanted him to be able to get out of there so he could go seek medical attention.
And that, on the day of the incident, after Mr. Huff left, what did you do after that?
After he had left, I pulled back into the driveway, spoke with the vehicle owner one more time, asking if he knew when the owners would be home. I spoke with the owners again on the phone. They explained they were still 15-20 minutes out, and the dogs were still staying inside of the invisible fence. They had not crossed at all. The vehicle owner was going to stay on the property. He had been around the dogs, he had said before. They were familiar with him. He was familiar with them. And so I returned to the shelter.
So you weren't able to meet with Miss Lewis on the day of the bite. Were you able to meet with her in the next few weeks after the bite occurred?
Yes, yeah, I met with her on the 26th, just over a week after the incident. I had spoken with her on the phone. We had set up a time for me to come out and speak with her and her husband directly and talk about what was happening as a result of the incident.
And where did you meet at?
I met at their property.
Is Mrs. Lewis in the courtroom today?
She is.
Can you please identify her?
She's sitting right in front of me in a white blouse.
And when you met with Mrs. Lewis and her husband, did she give you the name of the dog?
The dog's name is Gage, yes.
And during that meeting, did you explain to them that you were designating Gage as a dangerous dog?
I did.
Did you explain the requirements for Gage to be, for if Gage were designated dangerous dog, what sort of requirements?
Yes, yeah, I explained why Gage was being designated, that he had caused an injury unprovoked, and that a dangerous dog designation meant several different requirements. I walked them through those requirements, gave them a sheet laying out all of the requirements, explained they had a 40-day time period to get that into accordance, and if they chose to appeal it, they would have 10 days.
And so you explained the appeal process to the municipal court of Licking County?
I did.
And on that day where you met with them, did you get a picture of Gage?
I did not on that day because I had already identified him from the incident.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Kelsey.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a few questions. So at any point when you were there, did you have to restrain the dogs or put them inside or cage them or do anything?
No, I did not.
Okay. And you were able to go out to the roadway and speak with Mr. Huff and the dogs didn't break through the fence?
Correct.
Would you agree dogs are extremely sensitive in their senses? Their ability to smell, see, hear, feel?
They can, yes.
Okay. Now, do you think dogs can feel, based upon your experience and training and your contact with canines, is it your experience that canines can anticipate a threat based upon someone's demeanor at times?
They can. Dogs rely heavily on body communication.
Okay. And when you got to the property to investigate, the dogs came around your vehicle, right?
Yes.
And they were barking and just kind of circling around. And you chose not to get out, right?
Correct.
Seems like common sense, doesn't it, not to get out and engage those dogs at that time?
Well, yes, when I pulled in, I was able to see both dogs.
Okay.
So yes.
But no matter what, even when you back out, the dogs stayed in the fenced area, correct?
Yes.
You just decided to kind of keep your eyes on them and see what they were doing in case there was they broke the fence, I guess you said, right? In case they ran through it?
Yes, yeah, to keep an eye. So one of the many things that we look for in dog body language can be an indicator of like dominance or aggression is a flag tail. So in the photo of Gage in Exhibit 1, Gage's tail is it's a little blurred because he's moving it back and forth and it's up. That indicates that I'm in charge here. I'm going to do what I need to do to protect my home because that's probably what was going through Gage's mind.
Was Gage licensed?
For 2024, yes, Gage was
Okay.
licensed.
And he had all the shots and everything? So there's no rabies issues or anything like that?
Correct.
Okay. And you heard that you did speak with Mr. Huff, right?
I did.
And you do know that the dog was struck, right?
Yes, after the dog had bit Mr. Huff, yes, he was struck.
Okay. So the dog's probably a little agitated after getting hit, probably, right?
Yes.
No further questions.
Mr. Ramsey.
Exhibit 1, I apologize. This picture was taken by you on the day of the incident, correct?
It was.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You may step down. Any other witnesses today, Mr. Ramsey?
No further witnesses for us, and we would move to Exhibits 1 through 3 be admitted into evidence.
Okay. Mr. Kelsey, any objection?
No objection.
Okay, I'll admit exhibits 1 through 3. Mr. Kelsey, any evidence today?
Yes.
Is it Mr. Lewis?
Yeah.
Gene Perrine. He's in the hallway. It's his.
Follow me. You lay your stuff right there. You see some steps off to your left, go up those steps, remain standing. And raise your right hand. You you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this case now being heard to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Have a seat. State your full name, spell your last name.
Jewel E. Perrine, Perrine.
State your full home address. Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Gene. On November 18th, 2024, did you have a vehicle towed?
I did.
And how did you go about doing that?
Well, I called Allstate Towing Service, told them I had a vehicle to tow, and they said they would get back with me with a service provider as soon as they found one. And they texted me back and said they had a service provider who would be contacting me. And then I got a text from, I believe it's Grub Towing Service.
Okay.
I believe they were out of Logan, Ohio. And they gave me an estimated time of pickup. Well, the conversation I had with, I don't remember whether it was at the office or the truck driver, or the towing service.
Okay, so you're having a conversation with
Yeah,
the
because
company.
I
You
wanted
just don't know who the individual is.
Right, I wanted to tell them that I'd like to have it picked up around noon, if I could.
Okay.
And I don't remember the exact conversation, okay, so I'm just saying that's what,
Well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
What instructions did you give? I don't need to know all.
oh, I just told them that I would like to have the truck picked up and delivered by 1:30 or 2 o'clock, okay? And that's all I said. And I got three texts back from them on various times that they were running late, they were sorry they were running late, and then another one, they were sorry they were running late, and another one saying they were on site, and that was about 2:30.
Okay. At any point, did you talk to anyone about the dogs?
At no point did I talk to anyone about the dog, but I mentioned to the truck driver when they were here that there would be somebody there waiting for him possibly, okay, and that they had dogs. That's all I said.
Okay. At what point did you say that?
When he was hooking my truck up.
At your place to take
My
it to
place.
the, okay.
At my place.
Okay, that makes sense. So they gotta go to your place, obviously, get the vehicle before they
Right.
take it. Okay. So you had a conversation with the tow truck driver there?
Right.
Okay. And you advised him that they do have dogs?
Well, I mentioned the fact that they had dogs, there should be somebody there waiting on them, but I didn't know exactly what Dylan's status was at the time. And
Okay.
I don't know whether he heard me or not, I just made that statement.
Okay, and after the vehicle is towed, what's your next contact that day?
My next contact is from Dylan stating that they were on their way home. And just as soon, and I said, okay, the truck should be up there on your property at this time. And just as soon as Dylan hung up, I got a call from the tow truck driver saying that he had been bitten.
Okay,
And at that time, I was concerned about him. And I said, well, I'm on my way up. So I jumped in my car, and I was up there on scene in about 20 minutes.
okay, and what did you see when you got there?
When I got there, parked just a little below him, and got out, and the dogs came up to meet me. They weren't aggressive. They just came up to meet me like they generally do. And I petted them and made sort of sure that they were calm, because I didn't know what condition they were in. They didn't act like they were, upset or anything. It was just
Sure, I
just
understand.
checking me out. And then I walked over to the truck driver, and I talked to him, and he was in the truck with the door open. And I think I asked him how he was, and he said he got bit, and he showed me he mentioned the area that he got bit, okay? And I said, well, I'm here now. Basically think I said this, that I'm here now, do you want to get out of the truck and unhook the vehicle? And he said he didn't want to, he didn't feel comfortable. And I said, well, I'm here on site now. I will make sure that the dogs don't get to you if they are. He got out of the truck, the dogs did not come close to him. He unhooked the truck, my vehicle, and I believe what he did at that point in time was basically pull out of the driveway and make a right turn onto the main road and stopped there. At that time, I think there were two dog warden vehicles that showed up at the scene. I don't know if they showed up at the same time or not. One of them pulled into the driveway where I was at, leaning up against my car, and I think somebody said, I don't know if this was the lady there, but I was trying to remember, as they asked me to stay in my vehicle, and I said I felt perfectly safe being out of my vehicle, that the dogs, for as far as I know, weren't aggressive. And I talked to them, and then they left me and they backed out of the driveway, and they both talked down there to the truck driver for the next hour or so.
How do you know these dogs? It sounds, well, let me ask you this question. It sounds like the way you testified that you had contact with these dogs before.
I have. I've been up there on several occasions. I've had three vehicles towed.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's where you have gotten them worked on?
Yeah, Dylan is basically, I call him my mechanic.
Okay.
Okay, and he does a lot of work for a lot of people, but, you know, that's what he does. As far as I know, he has cars towed up there all the time.
Okay. And have you ever had any problems with the dogs?
None.
And you've only been up there half dozen times or so?
I'm gonna say 3 or 4 times, yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Mr. Ramsey?
When you said that Mr. Huff got out of his vehicle to unhook your car, was that at the original spot where you found him when you first got to the property, or was it after he had backed up to the edge of the driveway?
No, he was, as far as I remember, he didn't move anything at all except get out of the vehicle and then extend the bed of the truck so that the truck could fall off the vehicle.
And you said 3 or 4 times you've been to the property. Every time that you've been there, did you see the dogs or interact with the dogs?
I imagine, I'm saying that every time I've been there, I've seen the dogs, okay? They haven't always come up and said hello to me. They have come up and at times reached up on my car, which was nosy, and I'd get out and, you know, pet them and they'd go about their business.
So you get to the house and you had been told by the tow truck driver that he had been bit.
Correct.
You felt comfortable enough with the handful of times you met the dogs, you felt comfortable enough to be out of your vehicle and interacting with the dogs.
I was, and I did that. I got out of my vehicle. The dogs came up to me. I petted them and just looked around to make sure that they weren't agitated. I mean, I wasn't going to make any quick movement because, I've had dogs all my life, and I know some of them can be protective, and, you know, they just want to make sure that you're not going to bother them or harm them. And then they went away. Then I walked over to the truck.
And so you were there when Deputy Gavi arrived, correct?
I was there when somebody arrived. I didn't catch her name, even though she gave me a card.
When she got there, did the dog bark and approach the vehicle
That she was in?
that she was in?
I'm thinking so. I mean, I'm not really sure, you know, you have to ask her basically, but I was just observing her and the dogs because I just wanted to see what was going to go on. And I walked over to her and she rolled down her window and I talked to her through the window of the truck.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Kelsey?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may step down, thank you. Make our next witness.
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay,
Defense would rest.
okay. Mr. Ramsey?
Um,
Anything else today?
Plaintiff rests.
Okay. Would you like to make a closing statement?
Yes, Your Honor. The 5th District in 2019 issued a decision in Licking County Dog Warden versus Sendikar. I have a copy if you would like one.
Sure, thank you.
For Mr. Kalasaric.
Thank you. Unless it's against me.
That was my assumption. Is he helping you out?
In this case, the facts are somewhat similar to the present case where a FedEx driver was delivering packages and backed halfway up the driveway of Mr. Sendikar's house and did not see any warning. There were signs warning of a dog on the premises, and he did not see those signs because of the way he was backing up. And when he got out to deliver the package, the dog bit him. The court addressed whether or not provocation was met here, and the court ultimately concluded because there was no teasing, taunting, or tormenting or abusing of the dog that there was no provocation, and the dog was designated as dangerous, and the court upheld that designation. I understand the facts are not 100% accurate, but in this case, Mr. Huff did have permission, backed up the driveway, and once he got out of the vehicle, there's no evidence that he threatened or tortured the dog in any way. And through the evidence that was produced today, we believe that there was no provocation, there was an injury of Mr. Huff, and therefore the court should uphold the designation of Gage as a dangerous dog.
Thank you. Mr. Kelser.
Your Honor, I'll just point out a few facts. We all know he was bit. We're not going to say he wasn't. The problem is here, he's either incorrect or not being honest about, Mr. Huff is not being honest about some things. And there's just, the testimony is inconsistent. And that goes to being not told about the dogs, getting back out of the vehicle and when he said he did not, and the dogs not being restrained. The dogs were never restrained. They did not need to be restrained. There was no problem with the dogs. The question becomes is whether or not there was provocation. Obviously, he ignored the presence of the dogs, went to do his job, which he has a right to do. But you heard him testify. He exudes antagonistic vibes incredibly. There's no way, I know I'm a dog owner, I know my dog would veer way away from him with his attitude. And in addition, not only does he have that attitude, but he's in the process of dragging this chain around, which obviously provoked the dog. This is not, and the dog obviously was fine when everybody else came back up. Obviously the dog warden's been told that, the deputy dog warden's been told that the dog has bit someone, so she's hesitant. But even someone who's only had contact with the dog 3 or 4 times has no problem controlling the dog. There's no conflict there. He goes right up to the dog and pets it and helps the tow truck driver out. This isn't someone that has raised this dog, taking care of this dog. This is just someone who's done business at that business. That's all it is. So there's something missing here. There's something out of Mr. Huff's version of the events is missing. And I think there's plenty of evidence to show that there was enough provocation when you look at the totality of the circumstances, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Ramsey.
The only thing I would say is that Mr. Huff, through his testimony, said that the chain was in front of him when he was holding it, and he had his back to the dog the entire time. So I struggle to see how someone with the back turned to a dog completely can exude aggressive energy, such that to rise to the level of provocation. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. there's simply, I mean, there's not really any evidence in the record that the dog was provoked in any way, even, you know, being a strange truck and a chain doesn't fit the definition of provocation in the statute here. Obviously, there was injury. Based on the evidence presented today, I'll find by clear and convincing evidence that the dog has had injured somebody without provocation. And thus is a dangerous dog, as under 955-11A1A. Mr. Ramsey, you want to prepare entry for the court that advises the Ms. Lewis of the requirements of a dangerous dog?
Yes, I'll get that
Okay.
to you,
All right.
Your Honor.
Anything else today?
No, thank you for the
Okay.
court time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.